Jean Piaget was a Swiss psychologist known for his work on child development. He described the second stage of child development as pre-operational stage. He said, children at this stage are very egocentric. The ability to understand that other people have different perspectives, thoughts, feelings is still not developed. They lack the understanding that things look different to other people. Imagine you have two children. Let's say they are brothers. They're in front of you. Let's call them Tom and Harry. And you go to Tom and say, does Tom have a brother? He will say yes. You go back again and ask him, what is his name? He will say Harry. Now if you ask Tom, does Harry have a brother too? He'll say no. Tom cannot imagine that Harry has a brother too. Piaget said that this stage can last up to 7 years of age. I think he was wrong in some ways. When people from different cultures come to work together, very often I've observed the behavior of some adults resembles that of children in the pre-operational stage. Many people cannot imagine that things can look and mean different to others. We will very often hear denouncing sentences like, oh, they have a different working culture. They don't understand how we work. They are strange. This approach to others is not exclusive to any particular society or country. It's a human trait. It is detrimental to efficient collaboration we need in an ever-globalized business environment. If we find others strange, then this raises some very pertinent questions. How do people and companies overcome such hindrances to achieve collaboration where teams have to be multinational? How do companies manage teams from a distance? How do you harmonize communication and processes across national borders? But let's see why this happens in the first place at all. Ever since our birth, we learn to distinguish. We learn to distinguish between the caregiver and the others. A very natural instinct of an infant is to fulfill her needs. Since the caregiver can fulfill her needs, the infant automatically has a sense of security towards the caregiver. This is how we unconsciously build our very first stereotype because of our sense of security. As we grow older, our social environment adds new stereotypes to it, but we don't even question them. This is the beginning of the concept of us and them. There is something good about the stereotypes though. Stereotypes help us to navigate through our daily decisions. They tend to become a hindrance only when we rely on them unconditionally, and when we see them as the sole source of truth. Let's look at a couple of examples for this. Ever since the early 1990s, a popular stereotype came into existence that Indians are IT experts. Irrespective of where I went, Italy, Japan, US, South Korea, and many other countries, soon as I introduced myself and said I was born in India, it took a split second for some to say, IT expert. I have nothing to do with IT, except that I use a computer just as any other common user. On the other hand, when I said I live in Germany, most people reacted, punctuality. I have sought to engage a carpenter often to improve my kitchen in Germany, on and off. Most contenders promised to come at a particular time. They did not show up at all. This happened many times, and I learned to live with it because I realized these experts are high in demand. I also learned from it not all Germans are punctual. And similarly, not all Indians are IT experts. Stereotypes reduce complex human beings with various facets to a single image. They limit our perception and reduce our possibilities to a single option. I call it a keyhole perspective. A Nigerian novelist, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, speaks of the dangers of a single story on TED Talks. Every individual is a heterogeneous compilation of many stories. If we reduce them all to a single story, a stereotype, we are willingly ignoring their humanity. What happens if we reduce people to a single story? Because we have blinded ourselves by our own single image, we miss out on opportunities of collaboration with these others. We get stuck with our own image. We reduce ourselves to that image. We begin to see them as strangers and as someone we wish to avoid. How can you collaborate with someone you wish to avoid? Recall the song by Jim Morrison of Doors. He sang it in 1967. People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly. Jim Morrison delivered the message that not only they, even you become a stranger. Let's go back to the relevant questions we asked earlier. How do people in companies overcome these hindrances to achieve collaboration amongst multinational teams? How do companies manage teams from a distance? How to achieve a harmonization? A very effective solution is through intercultural communication, which anyone can learn. I make my clients aware about the self and the others. This is done according to the methods of intercultural skills. I train managers and staff how to work successfully with those others. Anyone can learn how not to be a stranger. Now let's do an exercise. Imagine you're Tom and your colleague from India is Hari, not Harry. If someone asked you, do you have a colleague? And you respond, yes, Hari. If they ask you, does Hari have a colleague? Think about the pre-operational stage of Jean Piaget and say, yes, he has a colleague. His name is Tom. That's me. My name is Arun Kohli. I was born in India. I have worked in many countries and traveled the world many times over to work and collaborate with the people from most diverse backgrounds, which was strange to me then. I learned various languages to communicate and come closer to my peers and colleagues from those countries. Not everybody needs to learn all the languages where you're working. There is a very effective way which can be taught to you methodically, and you can learn the skills of intercultural communication. At ABC Communication, we train you with trainers from different backgrounds and with methodical competences we have all learned at reputed institutions.